God.
Hello and welcome to the second edition of You 2.0, How to Turn Surviving into Thriving. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are here live, there also will be a replay available. LinkedIn actually uploads it as soon as we are done recording here today. So that will be available on my profile, certainly, and I'm sure these ladies will be sharing it on theirs as well. So if you are here live, we love to hear from you, as you know from the past. If you've watched any recordings, we love to hear from you in the comments. Anything to share, say hi, but also any thoughts you have along the way, any questions. This really is meant to be all about inspiring, sharing strategies, but also connecting, supporting, creating more community, really connecting people who are wanting to really up level their lives and become the best version of themselves. And so I would also encourage you, engage with each other in the comments or connect with each other, connect with us. It really is about us all really supporting and uplifting each other to, like I said, become the best version of ourselves. So thank you and welcome. And Sayers here, yay! So glad you could come. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So today, how to go from surviving to thriving. So in today's edition, we are going to be talking about and sharing our stories of how we used to be in survival mode and what were the exact things we did, the exact steps that we took to get ourselves out of survival mode and into thriving mode. And, it can be a really dark place when you are just in survival mode. It can feel like you're just kind of like trying to scratch yourself, scratch your way out of it. So we want to share like what were the exact things that we did. And of course, if you watch the first one, this is going to be raw, this is going to be real, this is going to be authentic. Like we're going to give you the goods. This is not just about some theory we saw in a textbook somewhere that we tried out. This is going to be everything that we did. So this is perfect for you if you're somebody who has been stuck in survival mode at some point, whether you are right now or in the past, or someone who just wants to make sure they keep growing and evolving and, again, becoming that best version of themselves. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Awesome. Okay, so before we dive in, I actually do want to have a question for you just to think about for a moment here. And that is, if you could think to yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you right now? 1 being you are strictly in survival mode, and 10 being you are totally thriving, like just expansive and opening and full of joy. Where are you right now? This is just about having unawareness. This is not about judging ourselves or anything else, but to really be able to change. It's a really great place to know where you are right now. So if you feel open about sharing in the comments, we'd love to see where you are. It also helps us when we're having this conversation to know a little bit about where you're at. But again, this really is about awareness, which is so much of the puzzle here. So beside me, as you can see, I have my band members, Angela, Dana, Josephine, and Anya. They're going to introduce themselves. We're going to be doing a roundtable format like we did for the first You 2.0, and they will introduce themselves when they first speak. If you haven't met me before, my name is Andrea Horvath, and I am a career transition coach, and I help ambitious women figure out the dream career or business that has their name written all over it, and I help them make that transition with my signature framework, the Career Fulfillment Blueprint. Okay, so this is how today is going to go. Awesome. So we've got a 6, we've got a 4, a 7.5. Awesome. Okay, thank you. Cool. 5. All right, so this is how today is going to go. So we're going to go with the roundtable format again. So I'm going to go around to each of the band members, and they're going to share what life was like when they were in survival mode and what were those first steps that they took to start to change their circumstances. And then we're actually going to dive a little bit deeper in on those and really talk about like what ends up being the strategy. What's the theory behind it? Why did it work? We often see why it worked and what really happened when we look back. And that's what a lot of us have done. We've looked back and said, okay, actually, that was a pivotal moment. Like, but why was it a pivotal moment? Like, what did I learn in that moment? So we're going to be talking about that more in depth. That will take up the most of the hour. And again, it's an hour long live like the first one. The last little bit, we're going to be sharing a little bit about what life is like now that we are thriving. Because here's the thing, when you're in survival mode, or anywhere really in your life, it can be hard to see what the next step of evolution can look like. It can feel really, really nebulous. And so we want to give examples. And actually, we chat for a few minutes before we go on live. And both Anya and myself shared something that really cool that's happened literally in the last week for both of us. Like Anya, today, things that just like literally just popped out of the blue. It just felt like they drop into our lap, which is really what it's like. So again, please share comments and anything you want to feedback you want to give us. We love hearing from you. Okay, so we are going to start with, and Josephine does have to leave at 1:45. She's got another engagement. So why don't we start with you, Josephine, and share, a little bit, like I said, introduce yourself, a little bit about where you're at and what you did.
Hi, everyone. And hi, Sarah. I saw your personal message. Unfortunately, we in the band members cannot comment back on the comments that are there. So Sarah and I connected actually after our first session. And that's exactly what Andrea said, is what this is about. So if you guys who are watching this now or watching the replay of this haven't connected with all of us, all the band members, as we call ourselves, yet, then please do so. My name is Josephine Warner. I'm a former corporate executive turned entrepreneur and business coach. So I help former corporate professionals build and design offers that really sells, because that is the key. Because if they don't sell, we cannot build our businesses and we cannot build the dream lives that we want to do. Do you want to do the round table now already, like Andrea, or should I go into my story?
Go right into your story would be awesome. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So as I said, I used to be in a corporate role. I was a high executive within at one of Switzerland's largest banks, and in a big, very competitive environment, you might not really see what's going on. You're so into it, and I had been promoted, which is also very kind of flattering. And I was in a quite toxic environment. It became more toxic. The higher up you go, the harder it became for me. But due to our family situation, I felt as if I had to stay in that role. And there were meetings that I was invited to where I was just invited to be yelled at. There were resources promised to me that didn't deliver, meaning I yelled at people. I became a person that I didn't want to be. I had totally lost myself, if you want to put it like that. I didn't even see. So I started to count my days until my retirement. So it was only 7,665 days left until my retirement. And that's the thing, right? You can't, it's like you just feel like, oh, it could be worse. It could be worse. There are people, they have it so much worse than I do. And I think that is a piece when we are in this survival mode, that we try to talk ourselves into it, that it could actually be worse. It can always be worse, but it can also be so much better. So that's it.
So what did you do? Like, how did you start to move out of that?
Yeah, so I sensed that there was something that was not right. So I usually say I started 2.5, or I tried to start 2.5 businesses, but I didn't really dare to go all in. My gut wasn't in it, or I wasn't brave enough to do it, until one day I got a really hard wake-up call. And it was that I learned that my father had an incurable cancer. Google gave him 3 more months to live. And that was my very real wake-up call. And I was like, what the heck am I doing? If I stay in this environment until my retirement, I might just have 5 more years left to live, right? And that was what I said, I can't do this. I need to get out here now. And I'm not saying I would never advise anyone to do that, but for me, it felt right then, as if I don't do this now, I might never get out of here. So the step that I did, I handed in my resignation, just like that. 4 weeks after we learned that my father will pass away, I handed in my resignation. He didn't get those 3 months. He got 6 weeks. So 2 weeks after I had handed in my resignation, my father passed away. I never got to tell him that I had quit my job because the focus wasn't on me right then. So as you might understand, I was mourning and I was angry and I was sad. And at the same time, I was super giddy about what the heck I could do anything that I want to do. And that was the very, very first time that I set a goal for myself. I had never set a goal any time before that. And that is the piece that I would want to give with people, even those who say, oh, I don't need goals. It's okay anyways. But I set a goal, a big, hairy, scary goal, and I broke it down backwards to say, okay, so this is my goal. I wanted to be a public speaker. I gave myself 5 years to do it. Back then, I didn't have a LinkedIn profile picture. I never were on social media. Going live with ladies like this would have been the worst nightmare ever, to do something like that. So I realized I need to become a public person. I need to become open on social media, but social media really scared me. LinkedIn was super scary because there was my whole old network of bankers, and what would they say about me doing these crazy things, right? So the whole fear of being criticized was a big roadblock for me to cross. And so I said, okay, so what can I do then? Well, I need to learn how to be on social media. For me, Instagram then seemed like a easier path. So I decided to take a course on how to post on social media, how to post on Instagram. So like defining a big, hairy, scary goal, break it down backwards, and then start from there. 2 years after I had said I want to become a public speaker, I stood on stages in Paris and in Rome. The 5 years that I had given myself were shortened with 3 years. So that is kind of like my little success story. I hand it over back to you, Andrea.
Awesome. Anybody want to share any sort of connections with that they can?
I just want to say, Josephine, your eyes are popping, girl. You look gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. Your story is so inspiring because we don't have to wait to get that huge wake-up call, right? Like we don't have like that. That's what we want to try to tell everybody is like, don't wait for there to be the opportunity, because the opportunity could make everything a ton worse, right? And man, you are an inspiration, girl. Thank you.
Yeah, for
Thank
sure.
you.
What I love about your story, Josephine, is like it is a big, hairy, scary goal. And I think that can really intimidate. A lot of times it can feel super, super intimidating. And so what we do is we get overwhelmed and we actually don't take steps. Because like and then we also think we have to know every single step from here to there. And I think that can stop people from actually getting out of that. Because it's like, well, I have to know the next 100 steps before I actually ever take a step. And that's not true. Like you said, the first thing you did, like what was the first thing? Well, okay, quitting. But it was taking a course. Yeah. Step number 1. You didn't know how you were going to get on stage to Paris or Rome. You had no idea.
I didn't even think that would be an opportunity. I didn't even think that would be real. It was just, I wanted to be like Mel Robbins. I want to be like Mel Robbins. That's what I want to do. I'm not yet there. I still have some steps to take to get there. But that was kind of like the inspiration, the motivation to do that.
Yeah, but I think that is, and that's awesome because you always want to have that lighthouse piece that guides you. Like this is where I'm moving towards, but just knowing it's one step, the Instagram course, the this. Yeah. And also, like you said, you felt all the bankers were watching, and how many times do we stop taking steps because we're scared of what people are going to think of us?
Yeah. And let me just add to that, those bankers, they are my biggest fans today. They always, when they see me, they say, I see you on LinkedIn all the time, Josephine. Looks amazing what you're doing. So that kind of like what I thought, the ugly monster that I painted was just in my head.
That is perfect. Nice. I love that. Dana, were you going to say something?
No, I'm just not in agreement. You're awesome, Josephine.
But it's true. We tell ourselves these stories in our heads about what people are thinking and how they're going to react. We do. And then it paralyzes us and it keeps us in that stuck survival mode when we actually just start to take a step. we realize it's actually not as bad as we thought it would be.
Exactly.
But you don't get that clarity until you actually start taking those steps. If you could go back, like what would you say is the one lesson you learned? Like what was the one piece that you thought I really learned through this process of pulling myself out of this?
Yeah, and it might sound as if I'm biased here, but I would say I tried to figure it out on my own. And I bought the courses, and you can buy the courses, but if you really, really, really want to move faster, you need to have someone to guide you, a real person, someone that you can talk to, someone that an accountability partner, someone that you really tick with, that understands you and that you understand. That is so key, because when you do that, that is when you will speed up. That's it. That's the main takeaway, actually. And I still have coaches, I still have mentors. You need to have them.
I think probably all of us can chime in and say, like, absolutely. It's really hard to do this alone. It's really hard to do it alone, because you're changing you're changing your identity.
Yeah.
You're completely changing your identity. And that takes some work. So awesome. Thanks so much, Josephine. Angela, do you want to go next?
Why the hell not? So I was thinking about, the time in my life when I was in utter survival mode. And
First, your one-line moneymaker, dear Angela.
Oh, geez.
I know. I didn't want to cut in. I don't want to be like, who are you? What do you do? What do you do?
Cut in, ladies. Cut in. Come on.
You LinkedIn people don't know who I know.
Do you know who I am? I don't know who I am.
I am Angela DeMarco. I am the co-host of Going Commando with Angela and Dana. Our podcast is really kind of like our main focus right now. We are all about being an authentic voice, being ourselves, showing people, pretty much more of this, but we also, act the fool and it's like try to express that like life is fun and you can achieve your goals and you can achieve your abundance and your success and all of that wonderful stuff when you have a good time and you have someone to talk to and get through it. So please follow Going Commando with Angela and Dana podcast on LinkedIn. That would help us grow our channel. Cool? Everybody good? That's my money maker?
Okay.
All right.
Fire away,
Tell
girl.
us your story,
so-
Angela. We want to hear your story.
My story. All right. So this is still a little tricky for me because I still carry some trauma with this, but as my stomach's growling, it's like, no, don't do it. When I left my starter husband, he was abusive and I was in a really bad spot, and he had fought me for custody of our daughter, who was 5 at the time, and he had 1 custody. So I was the visiting parent. This was around 2010. So we were kind of starting to crawl out of the recession, but because I was the visiting parent, I did not want to go back and get a job at an advertising agency in New York that would have had me not available to her as much as I could have been. So I chose to freelance, which was really difficult. It was tricky. I had collaborated with some amazing people, but, chasing checks and all that stuff, but I was able to be there for her lunch. Like I would drive into Brooklyn. I lived on Long Island at the time. I would drive into Brooklyn, which is it's a 20-mile, 2-hour journey because it's New York. And I would go in for her lunch and I would then I'd hang out for a couple hours and be there for her after school. And so because my whole life was about connecting with my kid, who I didn't get to get dressed every night, every morning for school and tuck her in, we had talking on the cell phones and all that stuff. So I was broke, it was really, really difficult because I just didn't have a lot of money. And I remember I was living with somebody, went into another relationship that was pretty much more of the same. And I was on my own, didn't have family to help me, didn't have anybody to help me. My person that I was dating at the time, we were living with, treated the whole thing like 50-50. We were pretty much roommates. So if I had, I would scrounge up for like $20 so I could put, $10 in gas and buy her a slice of pizza and get home, you know what I mean? And then try to figure out the next day. And it was so stressful to not know where that check was coming from or whatever. And, but we did it. We survived, and Maddie and our relationship, we communicated. She knew I was there for her. you know, that was the most important thing. But it was really lonely, and it was really difficult. I literally would be like under the car looking for quarters so I could buy her a cookie, you know, like it sucked. It sucked. And I finally got to the point where I had to make a decision to leave this person, right? It was a toxic relationship. I had gotten sober. He was not. I didn't feel it was safe. And we decided to break up, but we were living in the same house. And pretty much that was a whole thing. And I remember being in an AA meeting and saying like I knew that I needed to move out. But I had no idea how I was going to do it. I asked my mom if I could live home. She told me no. Thanks. So I had, you know, you share in AA meetings what's going on in your life. And I had said, like, listen, I need a place to live. If anybody knows of anything, you know, I'll figure it out. Just figure it out. And one kid was like, listen, I know a great apartment. Ex-girlfriend's mom has this house in Long Beach, which is, you know, blocked from the beach. And my sponsor, Karen, went with me to go look at it. I'm like, I can't afford it, but I'm just going to go look at it, whatever the hell. And there's like this bridge that you drive over to get into this town on the beach of Long Island. And as I'm driving over the beach, the sun is setting. I could see the city in the distance. And so I'm really, it's closer to Maddie, right? Like it's closer to her. And as I'm driving, I get a call from an old colleague who said his creative director had just quit and he needed me to step in and be his creative director for a few months. And he could pay me, you know, 5 figures and I would have guaranteed income. And I went to that apartment and I signed the lease right there. And my life began. And it was all because I had said, I can't do this anymore. Something's got to give. And I made the decision. And then the pieces fell into place. And it was the year I spent the year at the beach with my daughter, you know, like we got closer. Then I met my husband now and, you know, playing my guitar on the jetties and going for walks on the beach and just finding myself and falling in love with myself. And it changed everything for me. So I would say that, you know, I went literally from trying to survive from food and communication with my kid and love of self, trying to stay sober. And well, I couldn't afford to drink anyway, but but to truly the thriving part came, even though it was still chasing the money and then the guy turned out to be an alcoholic and it was a whole other thing. I came to in myself. And then that moment, I've never felt like I am just surviving ever since then, because I found myself and I found wholeness in myself. So,
Wow, powerful story. Thank you so much.
You're
You
welcome.
know, I'd like to chime in because the thing that I see in Josephine's story and in Angela's story, both that's so important, and I'm sure we'll see a common thread through our stories as well, is that when you decided what was important to you, you decided, Josephine, you chose life, right? You chose life. This is my family. I'm going to spend time with my family. Angela, you chose yourself and your relationship with your daughter. And then everything else seems to fall into place. And you know, Wayne Dyer, you know, he's quoted, I'm going to butcher it, but they say, you know, I believe it when I see it. And he says, you'll see it when you believe it. And we need to believe in ourselves. Take the step, even though it's scary and there's risk, but have enough faith in ourselves to take that step. And then we see it, whatever that it is, it shows itself and it snowballs from there. And both of you, beautiful stories. And yeah, man, you guys are awesome. You guys are
Yeah,
awesome.
I have to add something. You're really amazing. It's so inspirational. Josephine, you from corporate world, like the switch that you made, like the mindset switch, and the whole personality change is really powerful. So I know that there are a lot of people out there who are feeling stuck in a corporate world. So you are really good inspiration for them, to show them, hey, it's possible. You can be next Mel
Beautiful.
Robbins. You can
You can.
I'm aiming for it. Thank you so much. There was something I wanted to say to Angela. It's about this whole person, like feeling as if we had lost ourselves and finding ourselves again. And what Dana said, yeah, now I know what it was. Sorry, I was a little bit off track there. What triggers me is when people say, oh, I can't live of my dreams. I can't do that. And I think that that is just a bloody excuse, sorry, but there are so many examples out there. We are 5 examples here. There are
Yeah.
thousands of examples of people who are making it. It might not be that I become the Mel Robbins, but there might be other opportunities that I didn't even know about, right?
Yeah.
So your story just gave me goosebumps, Angela. I just love it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. And I had one thing I want to chime into, because what I thought was really important is when you said you went to the AA meeting and you're like, does somebody have a place?
Mhm.
And I think sometimes when we're in survival mode, it's really scary just to ask for help. I
Yeah.
think that's can be one of the scariest things to do, because we know we're in a vulnerable place, right? When we're in survival mode, we are the most vulnerable. And yet asking for help is actually one of the gateways out of it. So I think that's brilliant, because look what it did for you.
Well, and to also, I was faced with no's. I said, Mom, so and so is drinking and I don't feel safe there. Can I move home? And she said no. And then I asked the so and so, like, can you help me? Can you throw me a 20 so I can go? He said no. I had no support. I had no support. I had no work. My aunt had the balls. She had to pay her Amex bill, and she's like, "Do you have any freelance work you can kick over my way?" What?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was in the face of AA was such a safe place for me to raise my hand, and that's what you do. Like, I need a drink. I fucking hate everybody today. Sorry, fuck, a curse, but it was, but
Don't
yeah.
worry, Angela. I think I'm next, so I won't worry about the
you are,
curse. You
Dana.
just
So
pave
we're
the
good.
way.
Yeah, but asking for help when you're in that vulnerable place, like you said, because you receive no's. And I was the same thing in my world. My family's never been there for me, right? Yeah, to receive no's from the people you think are supposed to help you, and they're slamming the door in your face.
Yeah.
It can be really disheartening and very, very traumatic, to be honest. So thank you for sharing that, Angela. All right, Dana, you are definitely up next, girl.
Fuck. No, okay. So I'm listening to these stories, and I want to give you a snapshot of
Who are
between like,
you? Who are you? Introduce
oh,
yourself.
I just heard a voice. I was like, who are
Who are you? Tell us what. Give us your.
Sorry, that was a little scary. Okay. My name is Dana Sardano. I am an artist, an author, an educator, but I am half of Going Commando with Angela and Dana. We have business together. It's all about authenticity. It's all about encouraging people to tell their stories, from online platforms to publishing to all sorts of stuff. But at the end of the day, please find us. Going Commando with Angela and Dana. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, LinkedIn. We're out there loud and proud. That's who I am. But Angela, seriously, I heard that voice from somewhere else. I got a little nervous. You never know with the spooks and the kooks around here. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you my story. So somewhere between, we're gonna say 2005, because I remember that was my last real heartache, to probably about 2008. So there was a window there. There were many years that I lived alone, many years that I was bored and lonely. But those 3 years, I was in my late 30s, mid to late 30s. I had the successful job. I was an administrator in a high school. I had been there for many years. I had worked my way up in the educational system and did very well for myself. I tutored regularly on the side because I had a lot of free time. Like I mentioned, I was single, but tutored on the side for SAT, ACT prep. For those of you who are international, it's the college preparatory exams, and was doing well. I had my own condo. I lived by the beach. I drove a Mini Cooper. I had a motorcycle. I had cool hobbies. I would travel. I used to kickbox every day or run in the morning. Like, from the outside, I totally was like I was a total badass. Like, I totally had it together. But I was really, really without purpose. I felt alone, similar to Andrea and Angela's stories, that I had family that was not helpful. They lived out of state. I was very, very, very much an island. because I was in my late to mid 30s, or excuse me, my mid to late 30s, my friends, they were already married. They were already on their second and third kid. They were already doing their thing. So my life pretty much consisted of getting up, doing my, my routine, going to work, doing that thing, coming home, eating dinner in front of the TV. I'm just going to be full frontal. You guys cool with this? Smoke pot every night, watch TV until I went to bed. Like that's what I did. That was my self-soothing, a little pint of Ben and Jerry's. There was nobody to tell me I was too fat to eat it. So that's what I did. On the weekends, we started happy hour Friday night. I was going out, hoping to meet a guy, because that's where you meet them, right? The bars, So I would go out with my friends, and I would always come home feeling even more lonely, even worse, even again, more alone. Whatever, I'm just going to be out there. I would go out on the weekends and I would do a lot of drugs. I would whether pills, whatever pills I could get a hold of. A lot of times cocaine was in the picture. But what happened was I would do these things on the weekend, and then Monday morning, I'd get up, I put on my professional gear, and I would go to work, and again, go home, come on, eat my Ben and Jerry, smoke my pot or whatever. So the cocaine use went from the weekend, turned into, hey, Sunday, we've got some left over. Then it turned into, hey, Monday, to the point where I started doing, I don't talk about this publicly very often, so this is uncomfortable, but I was doing now cocaine every night. And then I would take whatever Xanax to get to sleep, because I had to get to work the next day because I was professional, buttoned up. And it got bad that I would be like, why am I doing this? And I would still do it. And I would do whatever, go about my business, go to work, whatever. And then that night I'm not going to do it again. And then of course it's cocaine. Of course you're going to do it again. So then I would do it again. And I remember one night I was laying in bed, and I heard, you guys talked about this in our last live, I heard a voice. Everybody's always heard a voice that's inspired them. I heard a voice that said, when you die in your sleep, do you want this to be your legacy? I was like, oh. Last thing I need is them to find me. Because remember, I'm Dana Sordano, I'm a professional, I'm all these things. The next thing I know, whatever. So that didn't stop me. So I continued to live this life. Somewhere in that window of time between 2005, 2008, somewhere around 2006, I got a dog, little Shih Tzu. Her name was Mia. Against all the rules, lived in a condo association. I was a younger one. It was a lot of older people, so they weren't fans of mine anyway. And I get this dog, and I kept her hidden. And I used to put her in it looked like a briefcase every day. And I would take her to my friend's house. I called it doggy daycare, and I would drop her off there, and I would go to work, and then I would pick up Mia, and I put her back in my thing, and I would come back. And I probably kept her hidden for close to a year. And she was a saving grace for me, because it was this companionship, this sense of not being alone. I remember once, after smoking pot, of course, looking at her in the face and going, oh my God, you saved my life. I really had, for the first time, this unconditional love. Again, many, many failed relationships, obviously dysfunctional relationship with my family. And somewhere, let's just say in 2007, they were on to me. She barked. Damn her for doing that, but she barked. And I got the letters that you have to move out of the condo, or you have to get rid of the dog, or whatever. And I had to make a decision. Do I move, or do I get rid of the dog? And I've been down that road before, and that's another story for another day. And I chose to sell my condo, buy a house. It was a little beach community too, Fort Lauderdale, if you're familiar with it. Buy a house in the neighborhood and create a new life with my dog. And it didn't come without work, without steps. But when I moved, I had to shift my focus. It wasn't about going out and hopefully meeting a guy that could save me from the drudgery of my life. It wasn't about going out and partying. It was about, I bought this house, sold the condo, bought this house. Then I was spending my time landscaping, painting, furniture shopping, creating a home for me and my dog, my family. And in doing so, something shifted in me. I didn't even realize it. Like in hindsight, like you mentioned earlier, you look back, the steps are so clear when you look back. When I look back, I come to realize that when I decided what mattered to me, which was my family, my dog, and I took the steps to put my energy towards just nurturing that relationship, whatever it took. Sell the condo, move. Okay. Buy a house. Okay. I took those steps. that I dedicated to myself, my relationship with this animal, and then started creating this new life for myself. And it also tapped into my creativity. I'm landscaping now. I'm painting my home now. I'm decorating now. And in doing that, somehow my energy shifted without my not even realizing it. And within 2 months, I met my daughter's birth father. And within a few months after that, I got pregnant. With a few months after, or a year after that, I had another one. And then all of these dominoes toppled of just having opportunity after opportunity to choose me first, choose what mattered to me first, choose love first, and for myself and for whoever mattered to me. And every time I did that, it got better and better and better. And now, what are we? We're going into 2024. 2014, I married my husband. 2017, I left my job. 2019, I opened the gallery. 2020, this one steps in. Angela steps in. We start this business together. And I always talk about this magical existence. But I remember, I'm getting emotional, but I could remember so vividly those nights on the couch, looking around, going, what are you doing? What do you do? You're surviving. Everybody else thinks you're doing well because it looks so on the outside, but you're surviving. And now I thrive like a Mickey Ficky. And I can't even say enough to anybody who's watching or listening to this. When you're all the way over here, everything is the brass ring. Like, you can't even fathom that you can have a day that you wake up in the morning and you're excited about. You can't even fathom that. But what I'm telling you, your first step, if you choose yourself, because you're worthy of that, all the other steps come after that. So that's my story. Yeah. Wah, wah. That was heavy, right?
I was not personally expecting that.
You know what? I debated. I knew I was going to tell the story, and I debated how far I went with it. Let me just tell you, I left out the men part when I'm sitting and I'm, scrolling left, scrolling right, scrolling up, scrolling down, going out with every jerk store that'll ask me, and still coming home empty and unfulfilled. And I've been assaulted during that time period. Like, whatever my energy level was attracting the worst of everything, saying it's time for a change. It's time. All Mia was a catalyst for that. And the rest is history.
Mia.
Thank God Mia barked. Wouldn't you say that?
Thank God Mia barked, right?
Yeah.
And again, I was faced with a choice. I could have given her up. It was a viable option. Who sells their condo and buys a house for their dog? Not too many. That's why we have shelters. You know what I mean? But it was time. It was time for a change.
Awesome. And I've got a great thank you for your inspirational story. I've got a few comments here. Yesterday, I heard about PTSD, post-traumatic stress growth.
Oh,
New
that's a good
paradigm.
one.
Interesting. A full Monty of stories today. Absolutely. Yeah. No, thank you so much for opening up and sharing, because it's those stories that really can shift. And it's amazing that it's that unconditional love. Is that Mia? Mia was the dog?
Mia was a dog, and I had Mia put to sleep. I mean, she was obviously 100 years old at this point, but just last year. And it was funny because, everybody has their own beliefs, but my belief is that our souls, we come into this existence with a purpose. So do our animals. And part of Mia's mission and my belief was to get me where I needed to go, and whatever that looked like. And so when it was time for me to oh my God, when it was time for me to put her to rest, it was like, thank you for your service. Because she did. She got us. She got me. Oh my God, my children probably wouldn't be here in the capacity that they're here if I hadn't had that relationship with that animal that brought me to a place where I could actually have children and raise them properly.
That's beautiful. It's amazing what love can do.
It's unconditional love, man.
Unconditional love was beautiful. Anybody else want to add anything?
Just what you said, you said you chose love, and I think if we think about it, we all chose love. Angela, I did.
Yep.
Life and love. And what you also said was my energy shifted. I attracted these assholes. And when my
Those
energy
scumbags,
shifted,
douchebags, asshole, whatever.
and when
Call
your
a spade a
energy
spade.
shifted, when your energy shifted, that's also when you started to thrive. And we talk about it as if it's super easy and we're all thriving all the time. That's not what it's like, right? But that's we are looking for the turning points here, and those were one of our several turning points.
Yeah. Yeah.
Common thread.
One of
Absolutely
our
a common
several.
thread.
Such a good point. One of our several, because I've had people ask me, what was your dark night of the soul? And where was your turning point? And I'm like, it's
A lot of them.
pivot. It's a
Pivot.
pivot, right?
Pivot.
Pivot. So
There's a lot.
that was one big pivot, and then another, and then another, and then another, and you pivot yourself into a happy existence. And then that gets uncomfortable because you grow out of it and you just pivot into something else.
Pivot the shit out of life.
Pivot the
Pivot.
shit out of it.
We're going back to that Friends episode. Pivot.
Oh, yeah. Pivot. Shut up.
Awesome. Okay, Anya. So make sure you do your proper introduction, or you're going to get called out. So I'm
Yeah,
just going
yeah.
to say it right now.
Just a comment back. I will leave right in the middle of your presentation. That doesn't mean anything. I will watch the last pieces afterwards. Thank you all
Thank
so
you,
much
Josephine.
for having
Good to
me.
see you, Josephine.
Okay, great. So my name is Anya Gibert, and I'm connecting companies and job seekers based on vibrational frequency. And 3 years ago, when I was in surviving mode, I wouldn't dare to say that out loud. Not even close. I was in such a victim mode, and I really thought that the universe is and everybody are against me, because there are so many things happen. But yeah, if I can just mention pivot my pivot point, it was in 2020, of course, because of Corona, I lost my last job. And then I had I had a lot of options. I got offers for new jobs, but they were like, no, this is not aligned with me. And everybody thought I'm crazy. Are you crazy? Like, you need money. You need to, you have mortgage. You said blah, blah, blah. It's like, just take the job. I was like, no, I'm not going to take the job. I'm going to start my own business. And I had absolutely no support with that whatsoever. So in like 2020, when I started my own business, and of course, like, I didn't have a clue about running a business. I didn't have a clue about setting prices, and I started with very low prices. So I was offering my services. I knew that I'm good in like empowering people, to show them like what are their strengths, what are their talents. I started with that. But then eventually, because I was, following my path, kind of, I started, of course, and I was doing a lot of spiritual work and like personal growth work. Yeah, a lot of things started happening. And also, I left my family. I mean, I moved out of the house, like of my dream house, because we bought a house like I would say in 2017, something like that. I moved out in 2021. So basically, when I moved out, I left behind my dream house, my dog, my cat, my ex-partner, and my son. Today I have 9-year-old son. And because I didn't have nowhere to go, I mean, I found a flat which was nowhere near, what I had before. It was closed and everything, but I couldn't imagine that I would be living there with my son. And okay, now we have like shared custody and stuff like that, but oh my God, like that was the time when I took that step, and it was excruciating pain when I just, turn around like with my suitcases. It's like, oh my God, I'm leaving my house. I'm leaving my son. My son was there, and he was then, what was like 3 years ago. He was like 6 or 5, 6, something like that. That was so difficult for me because I couldn't explain to him, why I'm leaving, what is gonna happen, like nothing. So I'm very, very emotional person. I'm very emotional person. And when yeah, Dana, I can completely relate to that, when I was in on the couch and just crying my eyes out because I was like, why is this happening to me? Complete victim mode. And actually, I found a new obsession, which was romantic movies on Diva Channel. That was every Saturday and every Sunday afternoon. It was like binge watching romantic movies. And yeah, Tinder and what was it? OK Cupid and Bumble. All these dating apps, and I just wanted to be likable. I just want to be wanted, in any way possible, in a business way, because I just started my own business, and of course you are trying, to convince everybody what you are doing, that this is, good stuff. And in emotional way, I mean, in personal life. But one also very strong pivot point was also when I finished my relationship with my ex-partner. um, my parents, which are like, they're amazing people, but at that point, I guess they were like really, really shocked, and they said that I'm not a rational person. I'm not making rational decisions, so they wanted to take my son away from me. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, all this and this, I'm not capable of fighting. I don't know what to do. I seriously didn't know what to do. So there were like a lot of different points, but I remember I was working with one company, or like with one person, who said that he's my mentor and investor. He was really taking advantage of me, of my psychological state, and because like my mental health was completely completely broken. And I remember that I got a nervous breakdown in front of like 20 people on my birthday. On my birthday, really. that was so that was so painful. And then, oh my God, like, I stepped into, like, when I went to my car and I wanted to drive, I don't know, I think that I was like in the middle of empty parking space, like next to a shopping mall, because I went to buy something for my son or something like that. And I crashed into the traffic,
Jesus
like the
Christ.
sign, and I completely wrecked my car. And it was a fucking empty parking lot.
Oh, God.
That's seriously, like, shit was, like, stuff were happening, and I was like, oh my God, Anya, what is happening? You have absolutely no control over you. I was like, you need help. Like, who can help me? Nobody understood what is going on in my head. And of course, like, spiritual work, and all this stuff, and you are even more confused. Like, surviving, I don't know, I was probably, half dead already, if I tell you the truth. Like, and my really, I would say, strong side is like emotion. Like, emotions really have huge effect on my life. So if I don't have emotions sorted out in my life, nothing works. Nothing works in every possible way, in relationship. So yeah, shit, that was really difficult. And of course, I didn't have money. I was living like from day to day. I had my own company. I had to pay expenses, and everybody, they were asking me, hey, are you gonna survive? Like, do you have enough to cover expenses for your company? Do you think that's a good idea now? You should go back, to find a job. It's like, and I was
Sounds
We've
familiar.
all heard that,
So
Anya.
what, yeah, what is, I'm dying to know, like, so what shifted? Like, I'm sitting here going,
The
what
popcorn.
shifted? Like, what was
yeah, I mean,
the
it,
step
it
you
was
took?
pretty bad, like, and then in Tinder, like, I don't know, we were already talking about, like, if you really want to know in what state you are, you just you just start a Tinder profile, and you see what kind of assholes you attract, what kind of people you attract, and if you really attract like souls, then you are not in a good
You know
state,
your
because you
vibration's
attract what
low.
you
You're,
are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
And at that
truth.
point, and I really, really wanted, I really wanted like a touch. I really want to be touched. I really want to be kissed. I had absolutely no one. I was so lonely. And yeah, I admit, I opened my Tinder profile to have sex. And not even that. I didn't get any, I didn't get any. It's like,
Oh, Anya.
Nothing was
Okay, so
I didn't have sex for like 4 years or something. And it was like, what the hell is going on? What is wrong with me?
so
But
what
then
did
when I
you do?
started,
Like, yeah,
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 what was the
then,
change?
like,
change. Give us the
yeah,
change.
a lot of like, I cannot say really it was like only one thing, yeah. But it
So what was
was,
the
I
first
think,
step?
when I was doing a lot on forgiving myself,
Yeah, there
okay,
it is.
Okay.
and stepping into my power as
There
an
it is.
authentic person. When I started like openly saying, I have ability to see synergies before they exist. I can feel people energy. I am, connecting companies and job seekers based on vibrational frequency. Like 90% of people in my life, they disappeared. She's crazy. But that really, really created space for new people, new opportunities to come in. So at some point I had absolutely nothing, like nothing. A lot of people took advantage of me, a lot of people lied, backstabbed me, whatever. But then when I started looking things from different perspective, from higher perspective, when I learned that, and yeah, then things are started to change. And I would say, when I had opportunity to, when I had nothing, like money wise and stuff, and there was a chance, that I would have to sell my soul. Yeah. It's like, hey, I have money for you. I can give you everything. You just need to do this and this and this and this. And I said, no. I was like, no, I know that I can do it, the other way. And I did it. And that is why I'm thriving, because I stepped into my
There it is.
power, because I show the world who am I, my authentic self, no matter what. And I don't really care what people think. I really don't care. I want to help them. My intentions are pure. I have an open heart, but I don't care if somebody doesn't resonate with me. Good for you. That means that somebody else is for you. And
Yeah.
also, here, I am enough. I had to remind myself, and I had to write this on my wrist to see every single day. Anya, you are fucking enough. You are enough. You are enough. You are an amazing person. You are enough for everything that you are doing, everything. And you are enough. You have the right to live the best possible life. And when I started saying to myself, like, hi, Anya, who are you? I'm a global HR disruptor, and I'm empowering people all over the world. And I'm going to create abundance with that.
Fuck yeah,
So,
you are.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Anya, you know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing is the same thread: your commitment to yourself, your love for yourself, and not selling out to compromise your integrity. It's the same story, right,
exactly.
Andrea?
You know what? That
The
is, there's a couple,
universe, you just send the signal to the universe that you
100%.
believe in yourself, that you love yourself, unconditionally love yourself, then the
This
universe will
is,
provide
Yeah,
you.
this is one of the things that I wish I could, like, I wanted to share is when you actually align with your integrity, it can be harder in the short term, right? It can be harder in the short term. We can all kind of attest to that.
Oh
And
my
the
gosh.
moment when you're choosing your integrity and you're choosing you, it can sometimes really freaking suck.
yeah,
However, your life begins to change. I always hear this voice that says, oh, this is how she's playing now. That's the
Yeah.
voice I hear. I mean, the voices in your head. You choose integrity. And what I'm hearing, Anya, is when you were in that place of survival mode, what I heard was you were in conflict with yourself because you were
yeah.
not wanting to show the world your gifts. You're actually your unique brilliance. You were
If I tell
hiding
you
it.
the truth, Andrea, I didn't believe. I
Yeah.
didn't
Well,
believe
yeah,
I had any gift. I thought that I'm crazy, in some way. It's like,
100%.
yeah. And of course, I needed to survive. I needed to pay bills. That's why I had, I was like, I'm so trapped, even though I started my own business, but, I'm not free. I'm not free spirit. I want to be free spirit. So now I am free spirit.
Yeah, it can be definitely a conflict, right? Because we've been taught this is how you make money. You conform, you fit in, right? And then you're like, but I over here, right? And it's a tough dance, and it's an inner conflict. And that's, I think, often what brings us to that place of being in survival mode, is we're in conflict with ourselves, what our soul is telling us versus what the world is telling us.
Yeah.
And we fight it.
It's
We
always,
fight it.
what do you have? What do you have within? It's gonna manifest outside. So that's it. We are
100%.
creating everything.
100%.
Everything.
100%. Okay, well, I'm going to share quickly my story. We're 5 to the hour, so I will try and be quick here.
If we go over, Andrea, seriously, everyone
Tell
go
your story, girl.
enjoy the rest of your afternoon, watch the replay, whatever.
Yeah,
But
that's
don't
great too,
stress
hey?
it. Seriously,
Okay.
we're here to have a good time.
Listen, this story isn't a good time, but it's my story too. So I've got a lot of stories of being in survival mode, because I was in survival mode for many, many years. I mean, I was born into a home and a family that was, that was my normal, to be honest with you. Survival mode was my normal, because that was my whole life with my family growing up. Not a great childhood. So my first daughter was born, and it was actually fairly soon after she was born. This is in 2004. I could tell there was something wrong with her. And I'm going to try not and cry here. This is not a story I tell often. And within a couple of months, definitely knew there was something wrong with her. She got really, really scared of other people. She wouldn't eat. Like, it was really challenging. She wouldn't sleep. And this kept going on, and it kept getting worse. So I would go to doctors, and they would test her. They're like, no, she's fine. I'm like, come live in my house. She's not fine. And I mean, she didn't mind her dad, but she really wanted me all the time. So literally, she was attached to me 24/7. Like, I couldn't get a moment rest. The only way she would sleep is if I was driving her in the car, pushing her in a stroller, or holding her. Literally the only way she would sleep. And you can imagine, month after month of this, Andrea's getting really tired, emotionally drained, not to mention, well, after you give birth, your hormones are like, woo, all over the place. And this kept on going, and nobody could give me answers. Nobody could tell me what was wrong with her. I'm Googling in my free time, and I've got, as ladies have shared here, I don't have family that's really supporting me. They're kind of like, and I got a lot of judgment. I got so much judgment. Oh, you're just a first-time mom. You don't know what you're doing. Like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with your kid? Why can't you? Like, there was just so much. And honestly, the sad part was, a lot of this judgment was from other women, which is why I think one of the reasons why I feel so passionate about connecting women, because I've had a lot of the other thing. And I want to create a different reality. But that's the whole story in of itself. But yeah, I was exhausted. My husband at the time was not like helping really. He was just kind of there. It was really her and me. And I knew I had to figure this out. And I was tired. I was getting tired. I was trying to get her to sleep. And I remember there was a span of a 2-week period where I got into 3 fender benders. 3 in 2 weeks that were all my fault. 100% all my fault. And I'm like, that was a low moment. It's like, what's next? Am I gonna like freaking crash? Like, this is bad. That was when I actually started sleeping upright, holding her. That was the only way I could actually get sleep, was I would sleep upright in bed, holding her, just so I could get some rest, so I wouldn't be crashing into cars. So, and what I would do is I would actually visit doctor's offices. I would go to walk-in clinics. I would go anywhere, because everyone kept telling me there's nothing wrong with her. And so definitely was in survival mode and desperate, honestly, desperate to figure this out. And by that, I was very much a people pleaser prior to that in my life, but I could see that I couldn't be a people pleaser anymore. So I kept Googling, and I kept looking at different people, different modalities, different healing modalities, anything and anybody that would listen to me. I tried chiropractic. I tried taking her to something called cranial sacral therapy. Like, I started doing this. And, the point I want to bring about this is, like, I tried all the conventional routes. And I think that's what we do when we're stuck. We try all the things we know. Like, I tried Children's Hospital. Children's Hospital interviewed me because they thought I was abusing her. That was an interesting little conversation. Like, I tried all the things that I knew. But sometimes you reach that point in the road when you're in survival mode, when you realize none of the tools you've got in your tool chest are going to get you anywhere. So I just kept going. I just kept researching. And I mean, I would just, any moment I had, and it was just me, it was me and her trying to figure this out. And I just kept following the path. And it was literally like following breadcrumbs. And I think that's often what happens when we're in survival mode. When I look back, all the times I've been in survival mode in my life, it's not like this one magical moment where you get it. Like, sometimes it can be, but often it's breadcrumbs. You're just following this path. It's like one step leads to the next step, to the next step. Like Dana, you were talking about, you know, the house, you know, like you just started landscaping and it's just like it all kind of unfolded, right? But I think we love to think that we can predict these things, but there was no way I could predict how I could get there. And eventually it led me to a naturopath. And a few months after visits with him, and I'm not going to share the moment when we figured out what was wrong with her. I do believe she was going to be autistic. She was 21 months by the time I figured out what was wrong with her, and he helped me. And he did this weird, I was so like Western medicine before this. He did this weird thing with tapping and all this kind of stuff, which was crazy to me. It was my first foray into really energy healing, and a couple other things he did. But here I was in this naturopath's office doing something wild and crazy. And really her life turned around and my life turned around. And I never went back to the same person. And, you know, to talk about everyone's stories here, it was like love, common theme. My love for my daughter was just like, screw all of you who think I'm crazy for doing, or don't think I'm competent, or don't think I'm a good mother. I don't really care what any of you think anymore, because my love for my daughter is so strong, you know. And it really was all those breadcrumbs of figuring out where the path is going to go, not knowing, but trusting that you can't go back. And I think that's a piece when we're in survival mode. We try to hold on to, like I said, things we've done in the past, and you can't. You actually can't. There's only way is forward, and it's trusting, and it's asking for help, and it's being vulnerable enough and open enough to see that there is another way. We just don't know it when we're sitting in it. Like I look back, and this was the biggest turning point in my life, from a person who was a rule follower, people pleaser, did everything by the books, made everybody else happy, to a person who said, no, this is what I'm choosing. This is what I'm choosing for me. And like I said, my love for my daughter was what, you know, and I just look back, and Dana, you talked about your dog, thanking your dog. Like, you know, I mean, I wish it didn't happen the way it happened, because my daughter thankfully doesn't remember any of this. Like, she's 19 almost in a couple of weeks. She has no recollection of any of this, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And we've cleared a lot of that trauma from her. But it was a gift, because without that happening, I never would have stepped into my power. I would have never done anything. I can't even imagine what my life would look like if that hadn't happened. And I truly believe in my heart that those moments when we are in survival mode, those are the moments that we get to decide. We freaking get to decide. Are we going to actually step into our power? And like we talked about, so many of us felt like victims, right? Natural. It's like, God, life is just piling this crap on top of me. Feels like a victim, right?
Yeah.
But it's in those moments when you get to decide, like, who do I want to be? Do I want to be this person everybody thinks is crazy, or is, you know, whatever it might be? We all have a similar, I mean, so many things of everything you guys have shared being looked at like you're crazy, right? Oh, I could tell you stories like family not there to support you. Boom, done that. Like, you know, everybody
Naysayers, the naysayers.
Yeah, or like, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are?
You can't do that. Okay.
That's not possible.
Do you think this is really a good decision, what you're doing here? Shouldn't you go be doing something more practical? Like, don't you care about your
my God.
Right?
I remember Rob when I started painting in 2015, and somewhere around 2017, I'm like, oh, my favorite painting, I'm going to create a line of purses. He's like, you can't do that. You're not a purse designer, purse manufacturer. I'm like, 5 years ago, I wasn't an artist.
Yeah, no, hold my beer, dude.
Exactly. Like, and I think that's amazing. Like, we've had so many, and this is why I love our conversation, is because there's such common threads here.
Yeah.
You know, it's choosing love. It's actually choosing yourself.
And
It's
yourself. Yeah.
Integrity. Yeah.
Integrity. Anya, I mean, I share, I've gotten fired. I got fired over choosing my integrity. And I'll never regret that decision, ever, you know, never. You don't ever regret a decision you make based on integrity, ever.
I
People
lost a
around
lot
you
of
could,
businesses because of my integrity.
Yeah.
But
you
gift,
will lose opportunities, you will lose friends, you will lose all of it. Guess what? Those people were not your people.
Yeah.
Because the
And
people,
you get to be you.
it's the
You
greatest gift you
get
can
to
match.
be you. So
Yeah.
lose whatever. As long as you have your integrity and you get to live with that, it's a win.
Yeah, it really is. And it's just trusting and having faith that it's going to all unfold. And we don't need to have the whole solution. I think that's one of the things that keeps people stuck too in survival mode is when I look back, I couldn't have planned that. I couldn't have planned how that was going to go. I couldn't
No.
go, well, I'm going to do this for her in 3 years. And they told me we can check her for autism when she's 3. Well, you know what went through my head? There's no bloody way I'm waiting until she's 3. Like,
Yeah.
we all want the solution.
Yeah.
We all want it now because that's how our logical brain thinks. But when you're in survival mode, your logical brain's not going to get you out of it. It's
Yeah.
not your logical brain.
it's your heart.
It's your heart.
It's your heart.
Oh.
When you
Yeah.
get in touch with yourself and you listen to your intuition, like wholeheartedly.
And
Yeah.
it is. And it's not going to make sense to the outside world. It doesn't have to. And it may not even make sense to you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, you might be even going, what am I doing? But
Yeah.
you know you have to do it. Like,
Yeah.
there's just this sense that, no, like Dana, you said, selling your place for a dog. And I mean, I'm a
Little
pet
help,
owner, right?
right?
But a lot of people would go like, what are you doing? Whereas
Yeah.
I go, hell yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I would too. I would do the same thing, right?
Yeah, you know,
It's-
I have a current so being in survival mode doesn't have to be for the whole picture, right? Right now my life is I am in thriving, I am happy, I am amazing, but there's one little piece that I am living in survival mode.
Mhm.
And the thing that's holding me back from getting out of this mode is I'm waiting for the opportunity. I'm waiting for the golden ticket. I'm waiting for the right time. Excuse, 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 excuse. But I know based on my experiences that when I make the
Let it
decision,
go. Yeah.
make the
It's done.
decision, I have to figure out what is it that I truly, truly want, not in the emotion, make the decision. I will be supported. And it's because it's for all of us. That happened to all of us. Once you make that
Mhm.
decision and you choose you first,
That's your power. That's
It's
our power, you
Yeah.
know, our
power.
perception, our reaction. This is our power. And every single thing you can look from different perspective, every single situation.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, girls, we are
Yeah,
awesome.
we're so great.
There have been some amazing, amazing comments.
There's great comments here. I've
we'll-
been reading those comments as we
yeah,
go through.
we'll continue the conversation after, like when we'll kind of respond to comments. But thank you everybody who's been listening to us, and
I
thank you
just want to
girls.
share. Can we
you
share?
guys.
Like, I don't want to go around too much in sort of respect of time, but I think there's a couple
Yeah.
examples I talked about at the beginning. I do want to share, you know, a couple of examples of what life is like when you're in, you know, in thriving mode. Because the beautiful thing about being in thriving mode is you don't know where stuff is coming from. Like,
Mhm.
you don't. It's this whole letting go of control and trusting. And so I would just love to give the 2 examples that we talked about just to plant some seeds. If you're watching this now and you're in survival mode, like even if it's one area of life, just to plant the seeds of possibility of what it can be like. So Anya, you shared a beautiful one before we hit, you know, live. So can you share that with us? What happened like literally today?
Literally today, yeah.
Literally today.
Basically, I was speaker. Yeah, I was a speaker at this job fair, which is national job fair, like the biggest one. And I was like, okay, yeah, one speech more. I of course went there, I was excited, but then it was like national TV, the journalists were waiting for me, and the radio and the camera and everything. And I was like,
And you had no idea.
what the hell is going on? How do you know me? Yeah, we are following, what you're doing to the. I was like, okay, good. So, it doesn't have to be always seen what is going on. There is, a lot of things going on in the backstage background. And things are happening. Universe is working for us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
That's
because you
awesome.
say yes, because you say
Because you
yes,
say yes. Yeah.
that's the key too, is when opportunities come, you don't have to feel always ready. You don't always have to feel prepared, but it's because you say yes, things like this
yeah,
come up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and
so,
it's amazing.
so when we were
A
chatting
lot of
before,
amazing people are gravitating towards me, like Angela, Dana, Andrea. We wouldn't met if we wouldn't go through all that stuff. So
totally, totally. So, so when Anya shared that story, I went, well, guess what, guys? I'm actually going to be on a radio show in a week and a half or whatever it is, right? And I was just like, oh, I've never done that before, and that just
So awesome.
landed in my lap.
Yep.
And
It
here we
opens the
go.
doors to a whole new part of you. A whole
Right?
new,
And
yep.
it's just like, well, how did that happen? How did this happen? How did all of us get together? Like, how does this all happen? It's stepping into your power. It's saying yes, right? It's choosing
Yeah.
love. It's choosing integrity. It's all those things, right? But once
It's
you do that,
recognizing your worth. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but your worthiness, recognizing that you're worthy of these great things,
Yeah.
and coupling that with the actions that are for yourself, and it just snowballs into greatness.
it does. And beautifully said. I always see it like there's little locks that are just opening, like I'm being unlocked,
Yep.
right? Or the universe is going, like I said, okay, that's what she's doing now.
Yeah.
Watch out,
And
world,
it's telling fear to F the F off. And what's the worst that can happen? You go on a radio show, you embarrass yourself. Who cares? Who cares? It's fun. Have fun.
I'm not at all worried. Yeah,
No,
Life is to be
exactly.
lived,
you
for
have
sure.
a customer. You have a customer for your painting in chat. Look.
Susan.
Oh my gosh.
Where can you find my art, you ask? Well, let me tell you.
She just painted that one too. I know that. She shared the
Just
chronicle.
finished it. I just finished it yesterday.
Just finished it.
What's her
Amazing.
name?
Oh my goodness.
Are you going to unveil her name?
Oh,
Yeah, it'll
so
be
I
on the
named her name
comments.
is Dahlia. She was a lot of work. I just posted her on LinkedIn, and the joke that I think it was funny, but the joke that I made was I birthed 2 children, and there was more effort put into her than the birthing of those children. Like, it was work. But if you want to find my artwork, go to ubuntufishgallery.com. That's UBUNTU, fish as in fish, gallery.com.
Awesome.
There you go.
I
LinkedIn
love
as
that.
well.
So I think it's a great note to end this beautiful conversation on.
Thank you, Susan. I
so much.
appreciate it.
And we are going to go back and read all your comments. Like I said, I've been reading this. I love this hold my beer, dude. Yeah, that's a good one. We'll go back and comment and reply and respond. And please do connect with us and stay
On
tuned for
LinkedIn.
more
On
episodes.
LinkedIn.
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
here on LinkedIn, and stay tuned for more episodes.
All
Thank
right.
you guys.
care.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much, beautiful ladies. Love you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.